Well, this topic here is one that's just, come up with a little bit of a breakdown of the finals impacts and influences in the last 30 years. And we talked a little bit off air about, the Warriors and, what would have happened there if they didn't all get injured and they'd won three in a row and then they could have gone for four in a row. And as we look through Wikipedia, not many teams have achieved that. In fact, not since back the Boston Celtics, back way before we were around, had any team won four in a row. Which then sort of posed to me another question here is that, you know, where's the game going? That's the question. And I guess, that's probably one that, I don't know, maybe one that, again, we'll look back on this recording in 5 years' time, ultimately. And, you know, where will this game go? Because one of my picks was how the Warriors really changed the game of basketball with their shooting. And now every kid wants to shoot. Every team needs to shoot. If you can't shoot, you can't win. The big man became extinct. Yeah, that big bruising center, Shaq. I don't know. Imagine Shaq in today's game. Would he be like, I don't know, who would you compare him to? He'd be like, I don't know, Roy Hibbert, or something like that, or Andre Drummond. I don't know. Would he have as much impact as he did in the 90s as he did in today's game? How could he chase the kids out at the perimeter? How would Shaq chase like a Victor Wembanyama? Yeah, that's the key. Okay, which then leads to the game now has gone to a shooter's game. Yeah, that's why there's talk of obviously even pushing the 3-point line further out, hitting a 4-point shot down the track or something like that. And now we've got 7-footers that are shooting threes. Um, what's next? What's next? I don't know. What do you think? This is a whole predict the future, right?
What would be next? The evolution. I mean, obviously Steph Curry really ushered in the everybody shoots five, six threes a game.
Yeah.
And Houston as well was a really big component of that, where the analytics, the whole shooting 30% from threes, just as good as shooting 50% from twos. So, at first I want it on record just so that people don't come after me. I do not think Shaq would be a modern day Roy Hibbert. I just think that
Hey,
that's,
I gave him Andre
you know,
Drummond. How about Andre Drummond? There you go. He's still in the league, right? Like
uh, I just,
that's a whole nother. Well, it's sort of the same topic here because Shaq was the big bruising era of the big men in the league. Yeah, we're talking about Shaq, Lonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, all these guys that came in and they were and then yes, you had other makeups, but that was the blueprint that a team followed. Now the blueprint is you need shooters. If you can't shoot, if you can't handle, we don't want you. You don't fit on the team.
well, Joel Embiid is obviously probably the player I'd liken it to, with Joel Embiid being a little bit more skilled in terms of shooting. But when we criticize Joel Embiid, when he has his down games where he has 15 points, 9 times out of 10, that's because he starts to settle for jumpers, right? So Joel Embiid is theoretically unstoppable when he's underneath the key, and he shoots free throws far better than Shaq does. But he goes away from that to shoot the three, to shoot mid range jumpers, and obviously do that. I think Shaq, because of his limitations and and one thing to Shaq credit, he knew he wasn't good at certain things. He just did. Like he is exceptional at the thing he does well, which is bruising and dunking,
So
right? Finishing
It
inside.
would have been Zion at 7 foot. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
it.
without the like athleticism and thing. I think Shaq would be surprisingly efficient. I think understanding that logic of 50% in two is just as good as 30% in three. I think Shaq's going to give you 60% shooting, especially with the new rules. They don't clog the paint as much anymore. It's one-on-one defense. He'd kill people. He'd kill people. I think you're
So
downplaying that.
I feel like we've sort of gone off topic here, but you're sort of saying that Shaq could guard Victor Wembanyama.
I think, look, I'm probably a little bit of a, I feel like I'm a Victor hater. I'm really worried about his longevity in the NBA. Guys at that size get injured. I say that a lot. Summer League was impressive. There's a physicality element that worries me about him a little bit. I think his expectations way too high. I think he's not going to impress people based off what they have in their head. They want the next LeBron. They want 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, and like 2 steals and like all these crazy other stats that go along with it. I don't think Wembanyama is going to have that. I think he might grow into that player, but he needs to stay healthy, which is already a bit of a concern. And I think he's going to notice that guys are pretty fast in the NBA and guys are pretty physical. I personally, I think to bring it back on track, where is the NBA going to go? I think naturally you are going to see more players like Wembanyama that are going to be taller and more skilled across the board. I think versatility is going to be huge. I think you're going to get a weird amalgamation of like 6'7" to 10 guys who play every position, right? So tall point guards will be more common and athletic shooting bigs will be more common. And it'll become really fluid, I think, on that front. And the only people who will break that mold will have to be exceptional, right? So for a big center to come back into the league, they will have to be exceptional at that specific skill set just to compete. And same for smaller point guards or smaller guards. They'll have to be exceptional to make it into the league and be as prominent as those things. So that's where I think the league could head. You know, we were talking, I think it was off camera, about Michael Phelps being replaced by people w'ho've just evolved, like, you know, human evolution. We're just better trained in that. I think that's going to happen to the NBA.
So would it be so crazy to suggest that perhaps in, say, 5 to 10 years' time, like you're saying, your team blueprint now is trying to draft, say, 6'10" or above shooters, and if somehow you're just a 6'3" guard, you better be able to pull up at half court and drain that shot at about a 45% clip. Otherwise, you might not have any hope of actually even being in the game anymore. I don't know. That's and if you're lucky, maybe the NBA now constitutes the half court line as 4-pointers. I don't know. Like, is that where the game's going? I don't know. I'm sort of scared now if that happens. That's not the sort of sport we want to watch anymore, right? I don't know.
You know, there's obviously, we look back, you know, the history of the league is very fascinating because you see some of that really old grainy footage and you got a bunch of guys that aren't even using their offhand, right? And you know, like the weird jump shots and the weird, like, let's take 130 shots every game and just go up and down the court. That the natural evolution is that most players in the league now could probably borderline be a Hall of Famer if they just time traveled back with their current skill set and with what they can do, right? So, you know, what you think is that in 50 years' time, because I think a lot of people are going to just naturally react to this and say, oh, the league's not going to be like that. And it's like, no, like in 50 years' time, what will the league look like? I think that's my interpretation of genetically, everyone's going to be just bigger and more versatile. And I think it will be harder to come in. I think a Trae Young would struggle to be in the league in 50 years' time where everyone's skill set is better, right? You know, you're talking about, you know, Magic Johnson was an anomaly, but now we actually get a couple of big point guards every so often, right? We get them in the drafts all the time. Michael Carter Williams was one, not that he's a big name anymore, but he was a big point guard. You know, LeBron obviously done that, Ben Simmons, Luka at present. We're going to continue to see big point guards. And then all of a sudden, well, no, that's no longer an anomaly. That's becoming the norm. And same for Wembanyama. You know, I'm so sorry. I believe his name is something Cooper. Have you seen the high school kid that everyone's talking about at the moment?
No.
Is it Cooper Flag? Cooper Flag.
Is it?
Cooper Flag. Anyone, you can Google it as well. He is like the next Wembanyama. He's already like 6'10" or 6'11" at the age of like 15, 16, but he's got ball handling. He can shoot. He's still growing. He's got the skill set. You know, those guys are going to become more common.
So your blueprint now, get a Dame Lillard, green light from half court, and then surround him with 4 7-footers that can all also stroke it from 3. And good luck. That's the new lineup of death, right?
Yeah, the opposite of the inside out, the outside in.
This is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist and giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.